Howdy, everybody, and welcome in. Welcome in. We'll wait for a few people to roll in, and then we'll try to get Mr. Cullen here in a moment. What is today's date? 28th of January. And hello, Talbot, Chad, good to see you. Ollie, hello. Trevor, Kimberly, hello. Soap Thing, hello. Hello, Angelo, Trevor, Boyd McDonald, Niall, you're still up. It is late where you are. How you doing, Chad? It's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining. Canadian Mafia Show and our brother Upfo. Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well, Upfo. Woo. Hello, Gene Caps, Belfast Shaver. Hello, Francisco. It's great to see you all. Hope you're all having a great evening so far. Hey, Reed. Tim, how you doing out there in the West Coast? Hope you're doing well. Paladin Hawk, Crystal, hello. Great to see you as well. Lots of people rolling in. Rob Zilla, thank you all. I really appreciate you being here. Hello, Ken. Good to see you. You're excited for the first live ShaveTalk. Yes, this one will be live. So let me see if Chris Cullen is available yet. Let's see if he's made his way in yet. Just a moment. We shall look for him. Katie's Bubbles. Give me just a second. And I'll invite. We'll see if he accepts. There he is. I know he's here. There he is. There he is. Let's adjust now so we can fit us both in the frame. There we go.
Looks like Howdy. I got lucky. Hello.
How's it going today?
It's going. How you been?
I've been doing pretty well. I can't complain, really. And we have people still rolling in, and I'm just trying to get everything adjusted where we'll both fit. There we go. I think we're okay. Or at least I can back up a little bit otherwise. So, by the way, folks, we are joined by Mr. Chris Cullen of Katie's Bubbles, old school soap maker. Some might even say old, but I'm not going to call him old. Definitely old school, though, so maybe you'll learn something there this evening.
Okay, Mrs. Bubbles calls me old.
Oh, does she? So at least I'm not alone in that. That's great. Let's see who else. Brandon, Gabriel, hello, hello. There's a few people in there waiting for us to get going. Lux Shave, hello. I saw Chad Irish earlier. I know you work with Chad Irish some. Great guy. Another great old schooler in Chad Irish. Brandon Shaves, hello. Good to see you, sir. So Kim Gray says she loves from Katie's. So Latherhog, hello. Good to see you. You know Latherhog, don't you, John? From the Latherhog podcast.
Yes. John's a good guy. We talk a lot about wrestling.
Okay. So you have that in common. John is a wrestling fan. So awesome. I got to ask, first of all, everybody always wants to know about the name of your company, Katie's Bubbles. Tell us why you named it Katie. I know this, but the people in the audience want to know why Katie's Bubbles.
I've told the story before. Katie is Jean's and my daughter, and her little brother, Christopher, is autistic. And when I was first taking soap making from a hobby to something where I had to feed some money back into it. Otherwise, I would have to shelve it because it gets expensive. Oils and everything don't pay for themselves. So we had to register with the state, and being that everything in our world at that point was wrapped around Christopher because of different therapies and this, that, and the other thing for autism, Katie was feeling a little left out. So Katie's Bubbles popped up. We went with it. We rolled with it. You made fun of us for it.
I did.
Tried to talk me out of it, but I'm a stubborn jerk.
What's funny is I have it written down right here. Remember us encouraging you to change it. Now, keep in mind, folks, before we get to this, we did not know at the time the reason for it. We just said Katie's Bubble. What kind of name is that for a shaving soap company?
We're manly men, and we want to shave with something that rawr.
Exactly right.
And then they found the story, and they melted.
Like, oh boy, yeah. Whoops. We should. I had actually written down. Remember when we tried to encourage you to change the name? Because at the time we just thought it was some off the wall thing that you picked. We didn't know the background story, and then we were like, oh, okay. And we held our head down like Charlie Brown, after he does something, and he goes, oh, shouldn't have done that. But anyway. I'm glad you stuck with it because it clearly worked out. Do you remember years ago, Chris was even featured and they did a story in Forbes magazine. You weren't the only one, but you were one of the soap makers.
No, I shared I shared that story with Stan from Above the Tie, and there was a Kickstarter razor that I don't think ever actually happened called the Beluga.
Yes, beluga.
I know that Mantic was a big supporter of them and was trying to get things moving along for them, but I don't know if they fell short on time, money, or what, but it never actually realized into a product people could buy.
Yeah, the website is still up. I looked at it like a few years ago, just wondering, or actually was maybe even a year ago, just wondering if it ever anything ever happened. The website's still up, curiously. But um, so yeah, Chris was featured in Forbes magazine with some other people. So
I
the
want to
reason
say
I
that was
mentioned,
back in 2015.
yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. It worked out, and we're very, very happy because we've known you for a long time, and you've done great work. I know you've helped a lot of other people as well along the way. In fact, I have this written down somewhere, so I'm going out of order. But weren't you one of the original testers for Soap Commander?
If you get the book that Carrie puts out
I have
that
it. Yeah.
teaches the basics of shaving soap, and you go to the very last page, it goes and thanks Irina from Ginger's Garden, and it thanks me for teaching her how to approach making shaving soap.
Right. The reason I ask
So
about the testers
I
piece,
I wasn't a tester for them, but I'm one of the reasons why she can make shaving soap.
that's really awesome. I thought you were included because I remember it was myself, Brian Sharp, and the first soap that they ever sent us was at the time they called it the Blue Pill, which is now
Yes,
Vision.
I got a piece of the blue pill, but I wasn't part of the official testing group. Um, they 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 didn't want my experience with going through everything with them to color my opinion on it.
Right. Well, a lot of time has passed since then. It seems like 100 years, although it's not been really that long
And
ago.
I'm going to take 2 seconds. Um,
Sure.
I'm using my phone to stream this, and my eyesight sucks. So if anybody tries to talk to me down there, I'm gonna rely on Chris to call it out because I can barely read what's down there, and I don't
If
want anybody to think I'm ignoring them or what. It's just that I can't see it because I'm old and blind.
if you do have something, please pop it in the question segment, and later on I will pop it up, and that way we can try to answer your questions. By the way, how long have you been in business now?
It is the end of this year. We will have our 10th year anniversary, which of course means that somewhere over the next couple of months, I have to nail down the cent for X.
Oh, awesome. So almost 10 years. A lot of people are hitting that mark right now, artisanal soap makers in the space. So you're approaching that as well. So that's really, really awesome. This is a question that people always want to know. What is your best-selling scent?
Best selling scent since day one is LPV.
Still?
It gets its challengers, but if you something might peak above it for a month, but come the end of the year, LPV still is taking the top podium.
Wow, yeah, that one's been around a while, and I remember when it was released, it pretty much immediately people really latched onto it, and it's really I still don't know if I've ever smelled anything quite like it. Like there's other things that have some of the elements of it, but it's pretty unique. And I still to this day I'm not sure how to describe it. How would you describe it?
It's a spice driven gourmand because you've got the variety of spices in the middle that give it that bite, and then outside of that you've got some sweet fruits and chocolate and vanilla and sandalwood.
My favorite still to this day is LMR. That one is just it's such a terrific aquatic. It's not Aquadigio, it's more than that. It just to this day, I just can't get enough of that. I mean, I own many, I own a ton, but that one to me is still my favorite. Although LPV is great, Irish coffee is great. I mean, I could rip off 20 easily without even thinking about it. But LMR for me is just that one is still special to me. How does that one sell? I wonder still.
It's always in the top five, normally top three.
It's
Lately,
really
you can take everything but LPV, LTV, LMR, and a Midnight Dreary, and they don't add up to the sales of one of those four.
oh really? Yeah. They're strong sellers. And a Midnight Dreary, I don't know if I was really hot on that one.
It
Uh,
it's not an original scent from us. It's just a duplication of Tom Ford's Black Orchid.
gotcha, gotcha. What do you consider one of your scents that's maybe a bit of a sleeper that perhaps doesn't get quite as much attention as you personally think it should?
Uh, that's tough because I make too many scents. um, a couple of the specialty ones that I've done over the past few years have done well. The one that I'd say that probably should get more attention is Tonsorian.
Yeah, that is an interesting take on barbershop that I don't think a lot of people have tried, or at least you don't see it as much. I like it. It's unusual. I get a little bit of a floral vibe out of it, sort of on the backside, but I also get some citrus. So it's for me, I think it's a different sort of citrus, or excuse me, a different sort of barbershop scent.
Right. Well, I'm not talking about Tonsorial Parlour, the one that I originally did for Italian Barber. I'm talking about the one where I took that and I turned it into a fougere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm talking about the original one, which was kind of barbershoppy.
Well, they're both kind of barbershoppy. One's a very, very, very antique barbershop, and then the other takes that really sharp citrus with the florals that was built around, and kind of mixes in a little bit of the 70s power fougere.
Right. What's one of the scents, I mean, apart from that one, what's one that you made and you're like, this one is just gonna kill, and it maybe didn't do quite as well as you expected?
I thought Dusk was going to do a lot better than it did. There's
Is
some
that a
guys that
newer
love
scent?
it. I want to say probably about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I only bring it out in little batches here and there because when I do it takes 2 3 months to sell a dozen jars of it.
Right.
Um, but it's a simple blend of honey, hay, and tobacco. It's a really dumbed down take on the idea behind a Serge Lutens fragrance. But it's simple, it's relaxing, it's enjoyable, it's warm. And that one I really thought would have done a lot better than it did, but I keep it around because I enjoy it. And as I said, when I put it out, it takes a couple months to sell a half batch of it, but it's worth keeping out there.
So a question that a lot of people always have with Katie's bubbles is why no tallow? Now I know you've dabbled in it and you've made a few little short runs here or there, or at least you did years ago, I think. But why no tallow?
When I originally was jumping onto the scene, there was, of course, the naysayers that said you can't make a good shaving soap without tallow. So we all know how I am, Mr. Stubborn.
That's true.
So so I had to prove that wrong initially. And then since then, I've done a couple of tests here and there, but nothing's come to the point where it tells me I need to sell this to people.
Right. So you're
I,
satisfied with the styles you're making.
yes, if if you take your time and you work the water into it, um, I don't think that there's a problem with either of the base that I've had. And the only thing that I really think anybody could say is a complaint about them is that they've been around for a while.
So let me ask you
I'm not
this.
out. I'm
Go ahead.
not. No, I'm not there to chase the newest, shiniest, greatest thing because
Right.
you do that and you put your customers into burnout. If you release a new base every 3 months and everybody's chasing for the next jar, eventually it comes to the point where it backfires on you and people start turning. And I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to put something out unless it's a marked jump from it.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Explain the difference between your two formulas that you have right now.
They're fairly similar. One's firmer, one's softer. The firmer one takes a little bit more elbow grease to get to where you have to be. Um, The other one gets there a little bit quicker, but it's really to satisfy the itch of people that are out there. Some people want a firmer product, and some people really like the softer stuff. I don't want to put out a true cream because that's not something you can do safely without a massive amount of preservation, and that I don't want to load everything down with the chemicals required for that. So the firmer soap is a true shaving soap. The other one, think of it like a hybrid. It sits in between a soap and a cream. It's got properties of both. It's got the softer texture. It's more pliable. I've got ones that I've made 4 or 5 years ago that I can still take out of the jar, and it takes a little bit of effort, but I can just smear them right onto my face and then face lather. And as I said, you got people that like firmer soap. You got people that like softer soap. This way, I can make sure that both of them are happy with it. But of course, I'm the pain in the butt that doesn't offer the same scent in both.
Going back a little bit to the name of the company, and that's a great story, and I hope new people this evening will sort of understand a little bit more about the name of the company. But Mikey T reached out today, and he wanted to know, what's your daughter's favorite scent of the scents you have?
Right now, I don't think she's a fan of anything about me because she's a 14-year-old girl.
Well, that makes sense.
And she was a butthead last night, and I took her phone away from her, so I'm really not on her favorite people's list. Yes. But if she had to pick one that she really enjoys, it would probably be a Midnight Dreary.
Oh, really? Cool. That's really awesome. What product would you say you're most proud of? Like the one that's just like, you're like, this is me.
.322.
What is it? 322. I haven't tried that one.
Because you don't like dark and earthy.
I do.
I've told you not to buy it because I know your preferences. It is a very, very Haitian vetiver dominant scent, but it also has some oak moss, patchouli, and blackcurrant. Mr. Talbot Shaving down in the chat has called it the best scent ever created.
Oh,
I'm not talking about Justin Shaving. It is his favorite scent out of everything he's smelled.
That's pretty high praise. That's really awesome. So I would suggest for those of you who like dark, earthy scents, that might be one you want to check out if you haven't tried it yet. It sounds like something that would be in the wheelhouse for those of you who appreciate the dark stuff, which of course is not really for me, but I realize a lot of people like that kind of stuff. A lot of artisanal soap makers right now are getting into what we're calling mandels. Any thoughts about doing something like that? That is a candle. That's for men, mandel.
I bought a bag of soy wax with the idea of making candles 3.5 years ago. I've got a case of jars in the garage. I've got the bag of soy wax hiding somewhere, and I've never actually stopped to measure out and melt things and give it a try.
Right. Now, you have some great scents. I think that's one of the things, what I would say about Catie's Bubbles is they have some really great scents, and a lot of them are unique. Like there's some that are, there's depth too, and you have range because you have something that's like fun, like Saturday Morning, which is like Fruit Loops. And then you have something like Midnight Dreary, where it's based on a frag, and then you have your, all your original stuff. You have the knee high. It's really there's a good bit of range there for people to sort of find something they like and grab onto it. One of the ones I really like that I don't see a ton is Water Eucalyptus too. That's just a great, fun, kind of uplifting scent. And when people try it, I think they usually like it, but I think it's a little under the radar. I think that's a really good scent.
Water Eucalyptus has sold well enough for me to not have a worry about keeping it around for years.
Well, that's good.
It's not overly complex, but it's a nice, clean, refreshing shave. Just a little bit of cooling in there from the peppermint.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's got that watermelon and the pepper, and I think people sometimes think, I don't know if that would go together, but it does. It just works, and it's one of those things that's really, really pleasing. I'm going to take a
Ooh,
few questions here.
uh, hold on
Did you
before you take
go ahead?
questions.
Yep.
I just saw that Andre is in the
Yes, he
chat.
is.
Mr. Lancaster Razorworks. I grabbed this and brought it in here because I wanted to show off how awesome he is. See that perfume cap? Andre made
Very
that to
cool.
match the labels.
That's very cool. Now, this I brought in here also, which I'm not a huge fan of leather, but
It's a very
this
different
one,
take.
for leather fans, this one is really good. This one is really good. In fact, I gotta smell it because I like it. It's really unusual. It has I don't know how to explain it. It's got a leather scent, but it's almost peppery. Um, I don't know how to explain it other than to say I like it a lot. It's
I don't
really
know where you're
awesome.
getting peppery, but
I don't know.
the way that the way that it's layered, um, think of fragrances like a pyramid. The top notes down to bottom notes. It's got some sweet dried fruits up at the top. It's got a bunch of warm woods in the middle. It's got tobacco, vanilla, leather at the bottom, but it's not a harsh horse saddle leather. It's a nice, almost sexy suede.
Yeah, there is something there's unique about it that I can't really nail down. Like to me, you get the leather, but it's got almost like I said peppery. There's almost a spicy element to it, but also a sweetness to it. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
There is a little bit of incense in there. Could it be the incense
It could
that's
be.
tricking your nose?
It could be. But it just comes together really, really nicely. And I don't know if Lancaster, if it has anything to do with Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or any of that
It
kind of
actually
stuff.
does have something to do with Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That scent was originally created for um, a meetup for the East Coast Wet Shavers group. And the meetup was supposed to be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. However, that meetup was in March of 2020.
Oh yeah,
It was 2 weeks after everything started shutting down.
blowing up. Yeah.
So that was one of the very first meetups that was canceled. However, that was pre-sold. Everything was put into production. So the original batch, instead of bringing it to the meetup to hand out to everybody, I shipped it off to everyone, and then gave it a little bit of time for everybody to enjoy it, and then I released it out to everybody because it's too good of a scent to sit on the shelf.
Now I'm going to take us down memory lane a little bit here and show something that I've met a lot of people here tonight never even knew about it, never knew existed, and it is CDB.
Charcoal despair and bamboo.
This this soap was literally made, including elements from bamboo from my backyard and coal from my backyard. I don't even know how many of these you made. It wasn't very many, I don't think.
Probably about a dozen, and I don't think I will ever do it again because grinding that bamboo was torturous.
It's rough stuff. And I believe that picture might even be the bamboo from my backyard. I can't remember whether or not it was, but it looked a lot like the bamboo that
I
we
think
use.
you sent it to me.
Yeah. So that one is one of the more rare soaps, and it's been. I don't remember when you made it. Probably 2014 or 2015. I don't remember. But that's a rare. And let's see if I can show you what it looks like. It's got a weird sort of color to it in there. If you can see that.
That was made at the end of 2016 because, if I remember correctly, I shipped those to Zach with
Yes.
the inauguration soap from with the orange Trump on it.
Right. How many complaints did you get about that?
I've still got people that think I'm an asshole for putting his face on a soap.
Well, what we're talking about here is a joke sort of soap that was commissioned for a group in a joking sort of manner. And I know even when I used it, people would get all up in arms, and I'm like, hey, I am not saying I'm supporting anybody. I'm just using the soap. It's a soap.
Yeah, people need to look at the label and realize that while the
Exactly.
soap was celebrating the inauguration of a new president, it did a good, fair job of poking fun at him in the same sentence. The name of the
Well,
soap was Orange and Huge,
right.
and it was a very, very, very orange Trump on the front of it.
It was very orange indeed. It was very orange.
And I
uh,
really, I really enjoy that scent. One of these days, I got to figure out a
it's
way
good.
to actually market it as something separate from that because
You
I should probably release it.
you should, and it would have to be something different because things you things like that just in today's climate, everything is so tribal. And I've learned the hard way, as you know, that delving into that arena, enjoying a hobby and enjoying each other is really always fun. But the minute you get into politics and divisive things, it's cancer, it's poison, and everyone should stay far away from it. If you want to feel better, if you want to be happy in your life, that's my advice. It's very, very difficult for most people these days. I don't think it was even 5 years ago. Like we could have fun with it, but now we've gotten to a point where it's very, very tribal. And for me, I found it beneficial just to stop engaging and stop consuming all that type of material. And now I enjoy just the shaving and the people, and it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to talk politics, it's best done on an anonymous Twitter account.
You're probably right about that. Niall wants to know. I think Niall's also known as the Belfast shaver, and he's here tonight. What he called it the 2 ounce sample size, and I don't think that's really a sample size. It's just a different size. But why that size that you offer?
Because it's half of the size of a normal jar.
Okay, simple enough.
That's the reason why it was originally picked. Um, I hate samples. I have 10 left thumbs, so fighting with those little itty bitty tiny jars, trying to force soap into them, is not worth the toll on my arthritis. So a smaller jar for travel purposes, and so that there is an offering that somebody's not plunking down $14 on. Granted, they still cost $8, but if you look at, you get 2 shaves out of a $4 sample from Maggards.
Right.
So for $8, you're going to get 30, 40, 50 shaves depending upon how you're loading it.
True. True. Now I'm going to pop up some questions here. House of Mammoth. It said, you're a legend and still putting out great scents. Thank you for Lancaster Leather. It's one of my favorite fragrances. Thank you for that, Ben. Yeah, it's a great fragrance. And I tell you what, folks, if you like leather, check it out. It's really different. It's really unique. And I'm not the biggest fan of leather, and I love that one. It's definitely a keeper for me.
And if you like the dirtier side of leather, I've got another leather-based scent called Vintage, but that is a very, it starts off very mechanical. The initial hit to the nose is almost like a 3-in-1 oil, and then it opens up to a leathery musk bomb.
Wow. I've never heard someone say it opens up like 3-in-1 oil. Because if you
No,
know,
literally, the very first thing that hits my nose is the smell of 3-in-1 oil, machine oil.
wow, if you know what that scent is, you know it. Those of you
Mm-hmm.
who have used it, you know it. Trust me, because it's I don't know. It's once you smell it once, it's kind of imprinted on your brain. So that's really, really interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that put that way. Ben, not Mammoth Ben, but another Ben says you do more. You seem to do more collaborations and charity type soaps and so forth than others. Is there any particular reason for that?
Um, I like helping people. I haven't done anything lately, so I got to figure something out. But in the past, I've done multiple fundraisers for Prader-Willi syndrome because of Scott Ostermiller's kid. I did a really big fundraiser for the disabled American veterans. I've done little things here and there offline for different autism charities because of my son. And just to use something recently, when um, Taylor Couch got sick, somebody reached out to me. The first thing I did was say, sure, take a couple of sets and use them in your raffle. When Jim Judy got sick, Taylor reached out to me, and I said, yeah, just give me a couple of addresses, and I'll send whatever off so um, you can fundraise for them.
So Ben says, sorry, Ben, he says, does Catie's Bubbles have a new scent in the works?
We've got a something that nothing I can actually fully share with anybody yet, but on paper, there's a couple things that are going on. Um, I was actually working last night, brainstorming with a friend, trying to figure out um, how to take black bergamot and actually flesh it out into a full fragrance without losing some of its initial character. That's one thing I'm working on right now. Another I'm working on is in the back of my head, I'm just referring to it as a blue barber shop. But I picked up some ambroxan and some castellone and a couple other aroma chemicals that I want to try to put together a barbershop type scent, but with an aquatic twist to it.
So one of the things that people may not know about you is that, at least as of years ago, I know you used to pick up fragrances all the time. Are you still down that rabbit hole, or has that leveled off a little bit?
I ran out of room on top of the dresser. The if we can always ask Gene to go and count how many bottles that are in there, but there's way too many. I've got lots of ideas to work off of, and now it's easier to just pick up a decant of something I want to get my nose on rather than going out and spending $200, $300, $400 on a full bottle.
Right.
Because of course I'm the jerk that just can't be happy with something you can buy at Macy's. Um, I, what attracts my nose are some of the more niche and indie perfumers.
Randy wanted me to let you know that as of when he wrote this comment, he had a nostalgic shave with Saturday morning. And again, for those of you who don't know, Saturday morning is like what Fruit Loops is what I would consider it to be, sort of smell
That
like. And
that, that that's basically what it is. It's a variety of citrus fruits with some methyl maltol.
yeah, it's a nice, for those of you who like gourmand type scents and you don't mind a sweet, fruity type thing, it's really nice. I have it sitting over there. I enjoy using that one. If you don't like something sweet or gourmandy, then it probably wouldn't be for you, but I really like it a lot. Now, Rod and
Just,
Mandy have a
just
question
don't
for
hold
you.
me responsible if after a shave with that you want to go sit down and watch Tom and Jerry.
There you go. Rod and Mandy want to know why you love the taste of Malort so much. And you might have to explain what that is.
Do I need to go grab the bottle? Do you want a shot?
I don't want a shot, no. But you can have one
Mal-
if you want to.
Malort is a wormwood liqueur. It's a wormwood is one of the most bitter things that you can ever put your tongue on. And I've never said that I like the taste of it. I like making people drink it. I like seeing their face when that bitterness kicks in. And I don't mind drinking it myself. I've kind of become numb to it. It as a digestive, it's actually really good for your gut. So it has its health benefits, which is one reason why it was one of the only alcohols that was still sold legally during Prohibition.
So for somebody like me, I'm not the biggest fan of bitter IPAs. It would be like kryptonite for me, I imagine.
Oh yeah, it is. It is ridiculously bitter. But if you go online and you were to just Google, because there's videos of people just taking shots of it at bars in Chicago, and their faces will just.
Shady had a funny comment in there. I'm not going to
But
read.
and Rod may give me a hard time for enjoying Malort, but guess who's the first person taking shots with me every year when there's a meetup at Maggots?
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that he would. That's for sure. Um, the question that always comes up, it's unavoidable because we've sort of moved into the realm now where this is, commonplace is reformulation. I've heard So let me put the question this way. What do you say to the people who say his formula is dated?
Only in numbers. And those numbers would be in the date. It's slick, it's protective, and it works. It's one of those things. If it ain't broke, why fix it? As I said,
Right.
I've fiddled and I've toyed around with things, but nothing is a noticeable enough jump to be worth
Yeah.
changing. How many vendors I've got carrying 10, 15, 20 different scents. There's
Hey,
a lot
Taylor.
more there's a lot more than just saying, "Oh, I want to change this today," to actually making a product jump. And it's got to be something that's worth making the jump for.
Makes sense. I want to just recognize real quick, Taylor popped in. He just got out of the hospital last week,
Taylor,
yeah, from his procedure. He had a gnarly procedure. He showed me the pictures of the scars. It's absolutely gnarly, but I'm so glad that you're home, Taylor. I hope you're enjoying some time with the family. I know both Chris and myself have met you before, and we have you in our thoughts and prayers. Also, Kim Gray is still battling cancer. She's here with us tonight. She's a big fan of yours, Chris, and I know she's gotten to know Taylor some. And one of the most awesome things happened the last time we had a show. We did a giveaway, and Kim won it, and she wanted it to go to Taylor because she knew he was, having a procedure. So just that type of stuff for me is just remarkable, and it really touches me. So for you, Kim and Taylor, blessings to you. Keep on keeping on. We really appreciate you. Chris, back to the subject there real quick. I think sometimes where we've gone, coming from 10 years ago, we make too much of what is required to actually execute an excellent shave. What's required is honestly not that much. If you're relatively skilled, and it's not rocket science, let's be honest. You're just dragging a razor across your face. Anybody can do it. That's sort of the virtue of it. Anybody can participate. But I think we have gotten to the point where we're making it, in some cases, more complex than it needs to be. It's not jujitsu, it's not even close. And I think that's where that comes from. I do understand that people are accustomed now to a different style of product and lathering and the low structure versus the high structure and all that. But when it comes down to it, like if you were using a sort of a football analogy, the X's and O's, the soaps I have from 10 years ago, I have Razor Rock Triple X, the original one from 10 years ago. It still works perfectly today. Do soaps behave differently today? Yeah, I think they do in many ways. Does that mean they're better? Do I get a better shave than 10 years ago? No, I really don't. I think people can make an argument in post-shave, but for me, I don't make that argument because I use post-shave products. But everyone's always interested in that. If you have a formula that hasn't been reformulated, when are you going to reformulate? And I do understand both sides of the argument, but for me, I'm using the soaps, all different kinds of soaps all the time. And being quite honest with you, my shaves 10 years ago were no better than they are today. I do enjoy myself more today because we have a lot more choice, and the scents are, everybody has upped their game in scents, and the labels are better, and the soaps are arguably better as well. But are my shaves night and day? No, not really. If you just want to be honest about it.
all you need is a sharp blade and a stick of Arco. But where's the fun in that?
That's true. That's true. Enjoyment, I think, I think that's one of the areas where we don't express it. Like, when you buy a fine razor and you just enjoy the craftsmanship of it, you enjoy looking at it, you enjoy holding it, and it adds to the experience. But do you need that to execute a shave? Well, no, but it is fun. And so I think sometimes we conflate needs with wants. And I think that's how we end up in some of those places. But thanks for answering that question. One of the things that people may not know about you is that you're a student of the game, meaning you're not just a guy that sells soaps. I remember years ago, me trying to buy razors. Remember when I was trying to buy the Merkur Vision off you? irritating you all day, every day, trying to get that Merca Vision?
I still have it.
Yeah, I got one and then I didn't like it anyway and ended up getting rid of it. But
Oh,
uh,
that thing's a hammer. It's gigantic.
but Chris is also a student of the game, meaning he's been through tons of gear. He holds on to a lot of gear. Um, any
I've ever
idea?
only ever sold one razor.
That's what I was getting to. Do you know how many you held on to, like safety razors?
Um, I've probably got 45 or 50 DEs, probably somewhere in the area, 30 single edges, and another 35 to 40 straights.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. So when you're seeing Chris, just know that he's also a hobbyist himself. He's not just a guy who makes soap. He was in the groups. He was giving his opinion on razors, and he takes shave of the days just like the rest of you. So, you're one of us, so to speak. And I've always enjoyed that when it's somebody that's actually in the community as a shaver too, not just as someone who sells wares. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because there isn't. For the people who just sell wares, that's perfectly fine. But you
Oh,
are a
but
student of
it's
the
also
game.
got its bonuses. When somebody comes to me and says, I like X, Y, and Z, I understand what they're saying. When somebody says, I'm trying to do this, where am I going wrong? I can walk through the process with them because I've done it thousands of times myself.
Right. I know one of the things you always used to tell me was, put some water in that lather. It's too pasty. And the thing was, for years, it was never a problem until I finally decided. Now, I did some straight razor shaving in 2013 or 2014, and I decided I didn't want to take it on because I knew I would buy 100 straight razors and stones and everything. So 2019 or 2020, I decided to go back to it. And of course, I bought stones and a bunch of razors and stuff. But I found out at that point, you need more hydration, because especially early on when it takes longer to shave one side of the face, by the time I was getting over here, it was starting to dry out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember you telling me years ago, put some water in that because I would go pasty. I had no
Um,
problem whatsoever.
what is the most important piece of wet shaving?
The wet part.
The wet part, water.
This
Get as much water into that lather as you can before it falls apart. That's where you want it to be. That's where your best cushion is going to be. That's where your best slickness is going to be.
That's true. And I remember you telling me specifically, you got to get more water in that lather, especially when you're using your product. But the thing of it is, you can get away with quite a bit. Like, it doesn't have to be perfection. And I
Oh,
tell
it
guys,
doesn't
because
have to be.
people get disheartened when they see the sheens on lather. When you're really working to get a nice sheen on it and you photograph it, like I've got lights in there and I'm photographing it and getting the best out of it. And they're like, I just can't do that. Well, first of all, yes, you can. But number two, keep in mind, I've got a light in there, so it's reflecting the hydration that's in the lather, and you can see it pretty well. But it's not required to look like it's a sheet of ice for it to be slick. You do need hydration in it, but don't be disheartened. Keep working at it. I've done tutorials. There's plenty of them out there, and the way I show you on video is exactly the way I do it. And so there's no special tricks or anything. It is strictly getting water in the lather. That's all there is to it. And like Chris said, before it breaks down. So you can't go too
Right.
far.
But if what you have on your face looks like you could patch some holes in the wall, you're too dry.
Yeah, yeah, I would say you're right. By the way, what is your favorite DE razor?
None of them. I'm not a DE fan. You know this.
Yeah, but you own them.
I own them. Um, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be my grandfather's tech that he brought to Korea with him.
That's a good choice. That's a good choice. All right, now we will start popping in some other questions here. And Kim Gray says, finished up my first tub of soap yesterday, and that was Saturday morning. So congrats on that, Kim. That's her
Did you
first
watch the
ever.
celebratory episode of Tom and Jerry, kid?
She should have.
She should
Let's
have.
see. Angelo says, coffee or tea? If coffee, what's your favorite roast or brand?
It depends upon the time of the day. I do like coffee. I'm not terribly picky on it. Um, but there's a just south of us. There's a um, little town called Smithville, and there's a bunch of shops in there. There's one shop that's called Cook's Corner, and Gene really loves a couple of the coffees that they have in there that they special to them that you can only get from there, and that's probably my favorites right now.
Very nice. Leatherhog says, what's your favorite scent note to work with and why? Is it vetiver?
Because that wonderful grassy root does wonderful things.
By the way, it's a good time to mention LTV, which is, I love that one. That one to me is bright. It's got some brightness to it. It's not like, I don't know how to really describe it, but it's a nice green scent. Like it's not
It's
dark.
I think Mac Glass described it best quite a few years ago when he called it a fougere. It's a fougere without any lavender in it.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's definitely more green, but it's got some brightness to it, which I really like. It's definitely one of my favorite green scents. I just really enjoy that one. It's really, really good. Let's see what else we have here. Lux Shave says, who do you have winning the Royal Rumble? So wrestling question here.
That's going to be tough because we still don't know everybody that's going to be in it. But I have a feeling that it's going to wind up coming down to um, this is where I get to geek out. I have a feeling Seth Rollins is going to beat Roman Reigns tomorrow night, and then Roman's going to dump himself into the Royal Rumble, win that, and then go to WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar.
Uh, I think Andre said here he's surprised you haven't done a cheer wine soap. I think it was Andre that said that.
I unfortunately don't have the skill to pull that off because anytime I try to play with cherry, it smells like cough syrup.
Ah, the old cough syrup situation. Let's
Mhm.
see. Uh, One past Ben wants to know thoughts on poopy scents. And the reason why he's mentioning this, if you don't know, is that there's been a lot of talk, and there was the other night on the Canadian Mafia show about Namka from Lothar, and some people get a barnyard sort of vibe from it.
It's that oud.
Yeah, some people say it's the oud, some people say it's the musk. I don't know. I
Now,
haven't smelled
most
it yet.
likely it's the oud. Namka is a dupe of Diptyque's oud palau, and the oud that's in that is a very animalic oud.
Well, that
So
that could account for if it's super animalic, that's for sure. Let's see what else we have here. Doug Bear is here, and he says, for me, luxury cream generates a quality lather with very little product. Is it more concentrated? Great question, Doug. Thank you.
no, same basic processes put to use, just different ratios of ingredients. They're still cooked over boiling point for the same amount of time. They sit open air to cure for the same 2.5 to 3 weeks. So I couldn't
What's
tell you any reason specifically why you find that it's more concentrated, but if it works that way for you, then that just means you get more shaves out of each jar. That's a
There you
win.
go. What's your favorite straight razor?
Hmm. I've got one from Doug Pickle that I really enjoy using. I don't know if you remember Douglas Cutlery. He
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
he unfortunately passed away.
Oh, shucks. Sorry to hear
I
that.
want to say about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. But he custom made a what he called a super steel blade. It's almost a stainless, but it's got the hardness of stainless, but it still takes an edge like a carbon steel blade. It was one of his own alloys that he was using. And I really enjoy using that one. Although I can be honest with you, I've been lazy and I haven't been using it straight lately. If I want that straight style shave, I just grab my Feather DX and I don't have to worry about stropping anything, and my shave's done in 45 seconds.
Makes sense. Ronnie wants to know, have your bestsellers changed over the years? I think you answered that earlier, but you can.
Yeah, they'll shimmy around a little bit, but at the end of the year, number one's LPV, and then 2, 3, 4 is any combination of LTV, LMR, and a midnight jury.
Ronnie also wanted to know what sort of sets Catie's bubbles apart. What do you do differently, or just something that makes you different as a company?
Well, we all know I'm very different.
And
Whether
that
that's
is
a good
true.
thing or whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is a different story. But um, it's it's all in the approach, I guess. When it comes to what I'm putting out there now, I know I had this conversation with somebody on when I made the post on my business Facebook page to let people know that I'd be here with you tonight. They started yelling at me that I got rid of Celtic Knot,
Oh,
and I apologized to them, but I told them that as I've gotten better with my perfumery skills, I'm trying to get rid of the scents that aren't mine. I want everything that I offer to be one of my creations, to be unique and not something you're getting everywhere else. Um, Celtic Knot, you can go to Sterling and you can get Sharp Dressed Man. It's the same scent.
right.
PIA had a version of it. Ginger's Garden has a version of it, so on and so forth. You want a cool water style scent, you can get it from X, Y, and Z. But
Right.
you want retreat, you're not getting this from anybody but me because this is me.
Hmm.
From the granted, I didn't pour the resin for the plastic, but I designed the label. The scent is my baby. The soap base is my baby. This isn't coming from somebody else. You're only getting this from me. And thank you. I know that, I don't know if he's still here, but Lather Hog on his Lather Talk podcast, him and Gerard, this past week they did their 2021 Hoggies, which is their Best of the Year award. This got the Hoggy for Best Scent from Gerard. Out of
Very
everything that
nice.
was released in 2021, I was honored to tickle his nose the best with this here.
That's outstanding. Yeah, I definitely see your point there, especially when a scent like Green Irish Tweed's been done a lot. It makes sense to me. Sometimes when artisans say, "Oh, I'm not going to do any inspired scents," I'm like, "Oh, but we love those," especially when it's something that's not available. Because the thing that I think sometimes folks don't think of is a lot of us may not have ever been exposed to a fragrance had it not been for our artisanal soap that brought it to us for a reasonable price. So I definitely understand if you don't want to do something that's been done 100 times, but when you're doing something that we haven't seen, uh, for those of us who are not heavy into fragrances, we always enjoy that. And I always
But
say a good inspired scent is better than a bad original.
well, that's why you work your butt off not to do a bad original.
What's that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
I
you.
said that's why you work your butt off to not do a bad original.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. Let's take some other questions here. Let's see. It's from Lancaster Razor Works. CB is like a honey badger. He does what he wants and he does it best. He definitely does what he wants, because I can't tell you the number of times years ago we tried to get him to do something and he would not do it. He would not do it. I always said he was stubborn. Let's see. What's a guy got to do to get tactical support again? That's Chad from Talbot Shaving, who also has a great soap, by the way.
Tactical support almost happened again. And then COVID hit. I was going to do tactical support in a mug for Peter
Oh,
Wolf.
cool. Yeah.
And then he wasn't able to go out and do in-person selling, so that plan fell through.
Gotcha.
Thankfully, I hadn't started production on anything yet for that. But we'll see what can happen. I've got the formula written down somewhere. There is no cardamom in LPV. That one I could
So
read.
you see that one. Yeah. The question was, what's the magic in LPV? Is it the cardamom? And the reason I'm reading it is because when I put this on YouTube, they won't be able to see the questions or comments. Or they might. I don't know if that pops up or not. I don't think so.
There's four spices in the heart of LPV. It's cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and clove.
Ginger is a note that I really like. I find myself liking in soaps, but it's not in a ton of them. But when I encounter it, a lot of times I like it. One of my favorite tea type scents was always Earl Grey and Ginger from Reef Point. That one was nice and bright. I love that. I still love it today. And sadly, my aftershave bottle has almost expired on that one because I love that one.
I think I've only used ginger in 2 scents. One was LPV, and the other is Eau de Te, which is your buddy, it's not his favorite scent, but it's one of his favorites, your buddy Tom Brim.
Ah, well, that will let me know not to get it because I know he has poor taste. No, I'm kidding. I was looking at that just the other day, thinking about I might like this one.
You probably would. It's a very bright, fresh, little
Manic
bit of
shaving
bergamot and
soap.
ginger. You can't.
Where can I buy Katie's Bubbles in the EU?
Katie's Bubbles is only available in the U.S. and Canada. You'd have to import it over there from one of the distributors over here that carries it. I'm a one-man show. I have no faith in other people to trust them enough to have all the keys to my business to go through the EU approval process.
So when you say that, you're meaning basically you have to turn over your recipe, your everything in order to get certified, something along those lines?
It pretty much comes down to the amount of information I have to give them because I'm not allowed to deal with the EU myself because I'm not in the EU. I basically
Mm-hmm.
have to wind up getting sponsored by a company over there, and I have to be able to provide them enough information that if they really wanted to, they could just screw me over and recreate my products with all the information that I give to them.
Right,
And
right.
me being from New Jersey, I know you don't trust anybody with the keys to the castle.
I understand. Makes sense. Let's see. Kim wants to know, does your wife wet shave?
She does occasionally, but you're gonna hate her for this one. She has to shave her legs like once every 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
Her hair does not grow quickly at all.
Just good fortune there.
So
Well,
she's
good on
very
you,
lucky.
Gene.
She's very lucky that she did not get the hairy Italian gene with that vowel that ends her last name.
Tony T asked, you may have answered this, but which scent are you most proud of?
Well, I answered what scent was most me. The scent that I'm most proud of is one that I'm actually scared to re-release because um, I'm afraid that it's not going to be as good as it was the first time I put it out. And that's one that I don't even think that you've ever had a chance to smell. It was called Confiant. I
No,
made
I don't think so.
It was either 2016 or 2017. I made a full coffret. It was the luxury cream soap in a violet glass jar, aftershave, and a full-blown parfum extrait of the blend. It was all essential oil and absolute based for the scent. It was grapefruit, geranium, the 5 lavender blend that I used for Menage a la Lavande. It's got
Mm-hmm.
rosewood, vetiver, patchouli, and I'm probably missing something in there. Lemon verbena.
And by the way, you just mentioned a soap. One of the most fun things over the years would be Chris would come out with a soap with a French name, and I can out pronounce it. And so
And you
much
still can't
so,
pronounce half the stuff I've put
no,
out.
no, I still can, and I don't even try.
Good
Um,
soap, dopey names.
Good soap. That's what I used to say. Great soap, dopey names. But at one point, one day, I come home and I had a number of packages, and they were all books like French for Dummies, How to Speak French, and that was a good prank. They actually got together and sent me a bunch of books on French, which was very funny. I still have them somewhere.
I was not involved with that. I kind of wish I was, but I wasn't.
I think Ray Pope, Busta, and some of the other ones did it. Greg Tardif wants to know any tube shave cream offerings?
No, because the luxury cream soap is a fickle little monster. Depending upon the fragrance that goes into that, it can either wind up if it's a very if it's a very synthetic blend, it winds up firming up more than it does where there's a lot of naturals or polyols that in the blend that would keep the soap softer. So, not to mention the fact that I don't have 10 grand for a tube sealer. If I have
Makes
an
sense.
extra 10 grand laying around, I'm going to go and buy an eco solvent plotter so I can make my own labels and not have to rely on somebody else's printing schedule.
Ken said, my pronunciation is the only reason he watches my channel. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. I try to bring you nothing but the best. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Sexy Phil from the Canadian Mafia. Anytime I have a French name, I'm going to have to have him to send me a clip, and then I'll put his voice over mine. That would probably work. That would work. I'll have Sexy Phil do it. That would be good. Let's see what other questions we have here. Let's see. Well, we already did Kim Gray finished soap, so thank you, Kim, for that one. Let's see. Favorite coffee. I think we might have gotten through most of them here. So if anybody has any other questions, pop them in real quick because we're about it at 1 hour, and that's where I usually like to stop it because I understand you people probably have a lot of things to do on this fine Friday evening. Anything you'd like people to know about Catie's Bubbles that they don't know already?
I'm an open book. If anybody wants to reach out, has any questions, I'm not too hard to get a hold of. The past couple of weeks have been a little rough around here because life happens. So I haven't been online as much as I've been. But after today, getting some good news about the pup, that should start to open back up a little bit. Although I've kind of enjoyed not quite being as accessible, if that makes any sense.
It does indeed. So Brandon Doom says, you mean you can't get the correct EOs?
Oh no, I have everything needed to recreate Confiant. I have it all on hand. I've had it. I'm just afraid it's not going to turn out as well.
Gotcha. Kim says, thank you both for a terrific show. I appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody who's joined us tonight. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about Chris. He's still around. He hasn't gone anywhere. He has lots of great scents. I just used this one. You probably saw it today, Irish Coffee. Now, formerly, of course, it had the greatest label of all time, Bailey's Irish Coffee. But now it's got this sort of okay label. But it still smells great. Still works great. I'm glad it's still around because I enjoy using it still. So you can find Chris, of course, Catie's Bubbles. He's stocked just about in all the main vendors here in the United States. He is an accessible guy. You can find him on social media. You can find him here on Insta. He has figured out how to go live on the Insta today. So, he's making progress. Don't call him old. He can still get it done. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. Any last words?
Shave well and enjoy them.
That is good advice for everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. Blessings to you all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.